Hi guys, welcome to another story on a Thursday night with me, Owen. Now I hope you've washed your hands and brushed your teeth. I've got my bedtime dressing gown on and I've even got my bedtime fire going low. It's really nice and cosy and warm here. Now, if you're comfy and ready, let us begin. This story is one that Jesus told us, but again, not in a way that you would have heard before. It's called The King of Malakom. Long ago, in a jungle now lost from the memory of man, a king reigned. He was called the King of Malakom. The king was strong and bold, a lion who had ruled from the beginning of time. He was older than the trees and wiser than the owls. His eyes burnt with fire and his heart was full of compassion. He was a good king, a kind king, a generous king, fair to all his subjects, and his kingdom covered the face of the earth. One day the king called up his servants together. Kaliath was among them. He was a monkey who had grown up in the king's palace. Everybody called him Koli. "The time has come for my son to be married," the king announced. "Go throughout the kingdom and invite all to attend." The next day the servants left the king's palace and began their journey. With great joy, Koli left as well. He couldn't wait to see the animals' excitement at such a grand announcement. He first approached the zebra. The zebra was strong and powerful, wild and free. Like the wind, he went where he pleased and did as he chose. "Greetings, in the name of the king," Koli proudly announced. "You are invited to a wedding feast for the king's son." "The king? You must be mistaken, little friend," the zebra snorted, with the wind rustling in his mane. "I have no king." With those words, he charged away in a carefree gallop. Koli was confused, but he continued his journey. Next he came to a hippopotamus. The hippo was really fat and happy. "Hello, Mr. Monkey," he called out from his pool of water. "Greetings, it..." Then Koli paused. The hippo was so fat. Could he fit through the door of the king's palace? Would he break a chair if he sat on it? What if he ate too much? I'd better not invite him, Koli thought, and continued on his way. Then he met a jaguar. His shoulders were broad and his jaws were powerful. He was the fastest animal in the jungle. "Greetings in the name of the king," Koli announced. "You are invited to a wedding feast for the king's son." "A feast?" Jaguar coolly commented, licking his lips and looking at the little monkey. "I like to feast." "Then come to the king's palace and..." "But I have no time for such a journey," the jaguar said. "I have work to do, places to go and animals to eat. I mean, meat." Koli paused for a moment. The jaguar's eyes glared at him. "I had better be going," Koli said quickly, stepping away. Koli next encountered a sloth hanging in a tree, but the sloth looked so tired and he moved so slowly. It would take him a day just to climb a tree, and he talked at the same pace. A conversation with him would take an hour. He'd never make it to the banquet in time, and I don't have time to invite him. So he left the sloth without saying a word. Next, the monkey encountered a boar. But again, this animal seemed an unlikely candidate for the king's table. "Just look at him, he's covered in mud," Koli told himself. "He might leave pig prints all through the palace. He's ugly too. Just look at those dirty teeth. Who would want him at the banquet?" So Koli left the boar. After a short time, Koli came upon a parrot sitting in a tree. He was beautiful with bright and colourful plumes. This was a guest the king could take pride in. Surely this parrot wouldn't pass up an invitation to sit at the king's table. "Greetings in the name of the king," Koli said. "Squawk! Greetings in the name of the king," the parrot replied. "You are inviting to a wedding feast for the king's son," Koli announced. "Squawk! You are inviting to a wedding feast for the king's son," the parrot repeated. Koli was perplexed. "Do you understand what I'm saying?" "Squawk! Do you understand what I'm saying?" the parrot said. "Of course I do," Koli replied. "Squawk! Of course I do," the parrot responded. "Goodbye, parrot." "Squawk! Goodbye, silly monkey," the parrot cackled as he flew away. Next, Koli happened upon a skunk. It was big and fluffy, with a huge white stripe down its tail. Koli paused and eyed it up for a moment. Would a skunk be welcome at the king's table? He pondered the question for a moment and concluded that the smell might cause others to lose their appetite. So Koli passed by the skunk with a simple "hello," but no mention of the king's feast. Then, with a saddened heart, he sat beneath a coconut tree. The time for his return had come, but his journey had been unsuccessful. He was so disappointed. What was he going to tell the king? With his head hanging low, he turned again towards his homeland, towards the palace of the king. As Coley approached the palace, he could hear cheers and laughter and smell the feast being prepared. Animals were scurrying everywhere. Cooks were cooking, bakers were baking, and butlers were doing whatever butlers do. Everyone was busy and everyone was excited. Surely this would be a feast unlike any other in history. "Coley!" A voice gently roared behind him. Coley froze and turned to face his king. "How was your journey?" the king asked. "Not good, my king. I invited all the animals, but..." He paused before continuing. But none are coming." The king seemed unmoved by this disappointing news. "Did you invite all the animals?" he questioned, raising an eyebrow. "Well, not exactly," the monkey said in embarrassment. "I was afraid the hippopotamus might break the chair, and the sloth was so slow I didn't think he could make it in time. The boar was really muddy, and the skunk smelled. I didn't think they would be welcome here." "Coley," the lion said, placing his huge paw on the monkey's shoulder. "You might be right. The hippo might break a chair. The sloth might be too slow. The boar might leave mud tracks everywhere. The skunk's smell might even ruin some appetites. But they are all welcome at my table. Just because they look and smell different," the king continued, "does not make them bad. If they are willing to make the journey, they are welcome in my palace." "Do I still have time to invite them?" Coley asked. "If you leave today, you will have time." Without a moment's hesitation, the little monkey began his second journey into the jungle. He invited the hippo, the sloth, the boar, and the skunk, who all came to the party and had the best of times. Whether you are tall or short, young or old, whether you have a long nose and big toes, or little feet and lots of meat, no matter what colour hair you have, no matter what colour your skin may be, even if you smell bad, you are still welcome at God's table. And that is the story that Jesus told us. Read the parable of the banquet. Well, that's all from me tonight. So thank you and good night.